A lot to cover on this Monday, June 30 for the Detroit Lions news here, and we're going to be talking about the backup quarterback position. Should the Lions look to sign a quarterback to compete with Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen? Joshua Pascal being urged to be traded. I'll give you my thoughts on this one. Rock Ya-Sin, we signed him in free agency. Could he potentially not make the roster? A bad rumor that occurred about 3 weeks ago. We're going to review it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts, keep you updated. Tim Patrick and his future in the Lions offensive line. That's what we got going on for today's show. But before we get into today's video, I got a question for you. What do you prefer, lake or a pool? If you can go to one right now, give me your thoughts in the comments. Let's get the show going. Let's get it. Let's go ahead and start this bad boy off about the backup quarterback position. And Mike Payton, he believes that the Detroit Lions should bring in Bryce Perkins to compete with Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen. He says in his opinion, that's the third guy should be Michigan Panthers quarterback Bryce Perkins. Nobody is going to say he is the same type of arm talent that we have seen in Hooker or Allen, but when you see Perkins play, you can tell he fears nothing out there. He just sees the field in a different type of way. It's surprising that no NFL team has signed him yet after he won UFL MVP. Payton continues on. He says, this is Hooker's third year with the Lions, but really just a second in terms of getting reps and being a participant in camp with the preseason. It's a very big summer for him, and it shows the Lions that he is the guy who saw from Tennessee when they drafted him. I agree with Payton. This is a huge year for Hendon Hooker, but we're going to be talking about Bryce Perkins. Did everything he did over there for the UFL. Should the Lions bring him in? We've already brought in a former Michigan Panther, right? Jake the Goat Bates. Could they bring Perkins to compete with our backup quarterback position? Well, they could. You got training camp coming up, right? You could have an extra quarterback. We've seen this multiple times. Do I think they're going to do that? I don't know. Do I think he'll end up being the backup quarterback position? I don't believe so. I've been telling you for a while. I think it's going to be Hendon Hooker. They're trying to push him. Just like they said in this article, it's his third year. All of that makes sense. So I got a question for you. Would you sign Bryce Perkins? S for sign, P for pass. The next, we're going to be talking about the Lions are being urged to trade Joshua Pascal from Detroit Jocks. This says both parties should benefit from a trade as the Lions need to bolster their secondary at the rank 30th in passing yards per game, 244. Well, Pascal could be a better player in the different system and offers him more playing time. Unfortunately, it comes to this point, but the Lions need to capitalize on Pascal before he walks, and they get nothing in return. So should the Lions trade him? Yeah, we don't need to be trading him. We need all hands on deck. And here's the thing. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. Trade Pascal. What are you going to get for him? Is it going to be worth whatever you're going to... maybe a player swap would be the only possible option. If you're just trying to get a draft pick, that's not going to help you win a Super Bowl. It's going to hurt your team. Pascal was actually on the defensive line as a rotational player last year. So you're going to take a rotational player off on a position group that's already weak. I think that's a terrible mistake. Pascal's just got to step up. This is the part of development. We push players to develop. We're giving them time to develop. We've seen late bloomers. Derek Barnes is a late bloomer. Ivan Uzurike is a late bloomer. Could Joshua Pascal be that? You trade him away for nothing. It's not going to help you win this year. So, in my opinion, no. We don't need to trade him. And let him walk in free agency. It doesn't mean you have to sign every single player that you have. Or, if you can't sign every player you drafted, you turn around and just trade him every single time. Sometimes you can just let him walk in free agency. It is an option, right? You can get draft picks if they get a decent contract. If not, you just replace it. Let's get into the next article here. Christian Boer talking from SI.com. Led a 53-man roster entering training camp and listed Terrion Arnold, Reed, Ennis Rakestraw, Robinson, Khalil Dorsey's 5 corners that will make team. Stanley Thomas Albers listed as first man out. And yes, Ya-Sin is listed as the back end of the depth chart, displaying a long shot to make this team. He has a long shot to make this team. Boer is correct. And Sin may not make this team. Probably won't. You say, oh, that's a terrible decision. Why would you sign him in free agency for him to not make the team? Folks, that's the whole point about the depth. You get all the players in, you let these guys fight it out, you have the best players in that positional group, and you go on with the 53-man roster. If Rock Ya-Sin is not the best cornerback, or is he one of the guys that's the worst, who cares? I don't care we sign him in free agency. I want the best 53-man roster at this point right now. I don't know what your mentality is, but I'm going to tell you what my mentality is right now. And my mentality is to win a Super Bowl and to win. That is my number one thing. I want to win. We just want to win, right? So if you don't make the team, that means somebody else did that was in a better position, who was doing better at the corner position, who was doing better in coverage, tackling, whatever they wanted. And that makes me happy. Having the best 53 makes me happy. And it should make you happy as well. Rank the Lions' offensive line. If you think they're the best offensive line in football, put 1. If you think they're the worst, put 32. Give me your thoughts in the comments right now. Now, Jeff Risden, he thinks that even though our offensive line was Savage with Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler, that the offensive line is going to be a top 5 unit. And you talked about it here. Says, Frank Dust says, disappointing finish this season took away from some of the glory the unit deserved. With some significant changes to the interior, things will likely be different for Detroit's offensive line this season, but it's still one of the league's strongest unit. Is giving the Lions, this article, a top 5 offensive line. That's what they're saying here. Even though we lost Frank. Even though we lost Zeitler. With that said, let's talk about the positives. Tate Ratledge, Miles Frazier, right? Development of Giovanni Manui continues to get better from last year, right? That's the positive stuff. So, yes, we took a hit. Frank retiring. If I was to say that we didn't take a hit, that's cap. That's a lie. Our team is worse. Our offensive line is worse today than it was before he retired. With that said, doesn't mean that the offensive line is going to be garbage. Doesn't mean that the Lions going to suck. Doesn't mean all that. Just doesn't. Let's continue on here. Devonna Platna, he's talking about that Tim Patrick needs to step up this year. He says Lions Tim Patrick can't afford to slack off before training camp. Tim Patrick was a desperate need and a fresh start last summer, which is exactly what the Lions gave him. The former Utah wide receiver faced an uncertain future that he's been waived by the Denver Broncos after suffering back-to-back ACL and Achilles tears, but those injuries weren't enough to dissuade Detroit from believing in the bounce-back performance. Look, I don't really care about his injuries from before he was a Detroit Lion. He played all last year. Right? He played every game, I think. Maybe he got dinged up, but as far as I could tell, he was always on the field. He ain't slacking off. Look, I appreciate the argument. We don't want him to slack off. We don't want any player to slack off. But why would Tim Patrick slack off? He is. I've seen many interviews. I've seen him play. He's a master of his craft. He's an older veteran. He's blessed to be here. He's not overconfident. He's not cocky. So I don't see him being an issue on having a year. Now, look, we got our guy, Isaac Tesla. Trade up, get him. He eventually is going to be the Tim Patrick replacement. That's exactly what that is, or potentially a JMO replacement, whatever you want to call it. But Tim Patrick's good right now. He's good, and they're going to put Patrick in because he is the veteran. He knows the offense, and we shouldn't be upset about it. He's a good player. So I'm not too worried about this one at all, and that's just my personal opinion on it. I want to revisit something here. And this is interesting because 3 weeks ago, a rumor came out that is very close to extending star wide receiver Jameson Williams. Good receiver. Could Jameson Williams receive an extension this summer? 3 weeks ago, rumors came out that we were so close to extending Jameson Williams. We're so close. This man contract. But that is just not the case of the situation. You know, I seen this pop up. A rumor popped up, I think it was like last week, and somebody says, hey, I heard that J-Mo's getting extended real short. I didn't hear anything about him. I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea. I love J-Mo as the next guy. I'm actually probably one of J-Mo's biggest, folks to support him on this team. I think he's amazing. In the comments, show love to JMO. Show love to our guy in the comments right now. Here's the thing. He's got to prove it. Yes, I love what he did last year. 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. We don't need to extend him right now. Don't need to. Let him prove it. Let him continue to evolve. Let him continue to grow as a player. Let him continue to work on his skill and his craft as a wide receiver. And most importantly, fundamentally, when it comes to Jameson Williams, when it comes to all contract extensions, we need to be able to trust him with that money. We trust Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, St. Brown, Jared Goff, but there is a little bit of worrisome about Jameson Williams. We could trust Aiden Hutchinson, but J-Mo needs to prove that a little bit more to get the bank. He needs to prove it on the field. He needs to prove it off the field and not get suspended. He needs to be on the field and not get mad and get a 15-yard penalty. You want to get big bank, you want to break the bank, you want all that money. He knows how to act. He knows how to act. Right? So he's a pro's pro. It's all on him. It's all on him, but we don't need to do an extension with JMO right now. Brad Holmes does not need to forklift a paycheck to him now. We have the 5th-year option. We picked it up. We have a whole year to figure it out. If they still ain't figured it out, they can franchise tag after it. The Lions are in control of Jameson Williams. So we don't need to blow up the bank right now. And it just tells you that some of these rumors, folks, are not real. This was never true. It's not true then, and it's not true now. So it is what it is. Give me your thoughts on today's video in the comments. With that said, folks, adios.